The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on and they get.
He missed the complete. He's crazy stuff.
Westside Freitas is on the grass on the infield for 4. He slides through. He tags Richard Eck.
Having left the warmth of Florida behind, the Autobahn Series ventures north into the land of dairy and beer. But there's no worries about the racing getting cheesy, because Road America has consistently put on exciting action for over half a century. And we don't anticipate today's race to be any different. The high-speed straights of Elkhart Lake will undoubtedly provide the thrills that race fans crave, and today we'll get to watch it all with round 4 of the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sportscar Challenge. And you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Pekin. With me in the booth covering the prototype and GTLM classes is Bill Soup Zahn. Keeping us up on the GTD class is Adam Young. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Adam, Road America has really become one of the icons of American road racing. What is it about this track that makes it so loved?
Well, I think a large part of the fact that people love about this track is the natural terrain of it, the beauty of, South Central Wisconsin to go along with it, with the trees and everything else. It's a track that just flows for a lot of people. And you can see there on the track diagram, you pretty much know this track diagram if you're a fan of road racing at all in the United States of America. Of course, about 4.1 miles, 6.5 kilometers in length. It's been open since the mid-50s, and just about everybody comes here to race, with the exception of course, the NASCAR Monster Energy Cup Series. But you have the Xfinity Series. You've got IMSA has been here a few times. CART's been here back when CART was still around. IndyCar has come back though, and it's just a great track. It's one of my favorite tracks out there, and I actually believe we're going to go ahead and take a lap around this place.
All right, we've got Kevin Brown behind the wheel of the GSRC BMW, so let's do a lap around Road America. Coming down the front stretch, turn 1 normally wouldn't be a passing zone with it being a fast right-hander, but the long pit straight means there's plenty of braking to give you a chance to get by. Watch out for drivers who drift wide though. 2 wheels in the grass can send you straight into the barrier to your right. From there we head downhill to 3. This is one of the more crucial corners to get right. The most important thing about it is the exit, because it's another long acceleration zone afterwards. Slow in, fast out was never more true. Now we've got the moraine sweep. These little bends mean you need to be very aware of the drivers around you, lest you drift into your competitor's lane. Coming up though is the left-hander of 5. This is a very popular overtaking spot, but also where many drivers outbrake themselves. Keep half an eye on your mirrors. Then it's uphill to 6. This crest makes it very easy to lock the brakes. It's also really blind. You don't see your turn in until you're right on top of it. After that, we've got the hurry downs. Just a lift through that fast kink of 7, and we fly downhill to another potential passing zone. Turn 8 will see some guys make an ambitious move here or there. If you catch the guy in front of you sleeping, it's not out of the question to nab a position. Then we fly around the infamous carousel. Impatient drivers will get a terrible launch compared to the ones waiting on a feathered throttle. But if you get a run, you gotta be brave, because too wide through the kink is a crazy game of chicken. It's only a small lift, but go wide and there's mere yards on either side of the track before carbon fiber meets concrete. If an accident unfolds here in traffic, expect multiple drivers to end their day prematurely. From there, we straighten out the kettle bottoms and set up for Canada Corner. This is your last good spot in the lap to execute a pass. If we see a draft battle towards the end, guys will be looking to seal the deal here. Then there's 13A. It's blind, fast, and it requires a lot of commitment to get the most out of it. It immediately dumps you into the last turn, which has a tricky, curved braking zone. Once again, your exit speed is so much more important than your entry speed. Especially with this huge uphill and long front stretch, you need every inch of oomph your car has got. But that is a lap around Road America. I have to agree with Adam. I'm pretty sure most of our viewers are very familiar with that lap at this point, if they've driven a road series at all on iRacing. Now, if you're wondering who the man is with the cheesehead hat on and a bottle of lager in the booth, well, don't worry, that's just Bill Zahn getting into the spirit, and he's going to get us up to speed on the points.
To adulterate a Paul Simon lyric They've all come to race Road America. Let's see where they stand after Daytona, Mossport, and Sebring are in the books. Let's start with the fastest of the three classes, the prototypes. Team Talon Robert Tinsey has a win and 2 runner-ups this season. John Ulmer of Autobahn West got his first win last time out at Sebring. A 4th at Mossport is AOD Racing's Carter Kundinger's best result so far. After 2 podiums to start his campaign, reality reared its ugly head at Sebring in the form of an 11th place finish for TMC Carbon's Mark Schindel. It's been Trip Snowman's 8th place finishes only for TMC Racing's Mark Wilson. Now, Privateer Cy Andrus not on the chart. Keep an eye out for him. ClanOAD.net's Alex Simonik, also somebody to watch out for. And Lionel DePratt leads the AM Championship in 12th. Moving to the GTLM class, where there are plenty of comers and goers. Paul Oh My Darling had a pair of second-place finishes going into Sebring, but a no-show in Florida. And the fact that drop race insurance is not accounted for yet sunk the Privateer down to 4th. This made room for Autobahn's West Billy Smith II, despite only a 7th at Sebring, to move into the lead. Followed by P1 Racing John Paquin, but sadly for fans, competitors, and commentators alike, the Pac-Man announced he will be stepping away from the series. Lee Peterson of Autobahn East rounds out the overlay. Dale Green leads the AM Championship in 10th. Defending champ Stephen McGarvey is in 12th and racing today. Onward to the GTD guys, where the Comet, Bradley Haley, has streaked to the lead. The Rainier Racing driver has 2 wins and a 2nd so far. Blackadder driver Brandon Garcia, best result so far was a 5th in the season opener at Daytona. After a slow start, it's been a pair of sailboats at Mossport and Sebring, 4ths in both for SRN Motorsports' Scott McGarvey. Dennis Severtik did not race in round 2. Look for him to move up the chart once each driver's worst 2 results are dropped. And for Sheldon Rosenbaum, it has been feast or famine. The Autobahn East driver has an 11th and a 14th, bookending a win at Mossport. Tim McLeish leads the AM Championship in 10th. Finally, let's look at the Team Championship, where 3 points separate the top 3 teams. You know, it's Kundinger, Ohms, and Black, and Beck Dugalby having a great days at Sebring, moving that team into the lead. Autobahn West falls down into 3rd place. Rainier Holt Station in 2nd. SRN Motorsports up 6 spots. TMC Racing in 5th. Okay, to wrap up, let's return back to Paul Simon again as he sings "I'm empty and aching, and I don't know why." When it comes to filling my racing void or easing my racing pain, Road America would not be my first choice of race tracks. Joe, if they can't find solace here, maybe next round when the series goes to Circuit of the Americas.
Solace might be hard to come by depending on some of the talk with interclass traffic, because some of the drivers are a little bit worried with the way the line switches back and forth across the track, and that can sometimes mean trouble and miscommunication between the faster and slower classes. And speaking of passing, within classes, Adam, where are the most common spots do you think overtakes are going to take place?
Well, you know, the obvious place is going to be turn 1 around here. You know, coming off that huge hill on the front straightaway. And of course, we get to have another huge hill on the front straightaway next week at COTA. But turn 1, you're going to have a great passing opportunity there. Turn 2, not so much, though. The next best chance is probably going to be when you take that really, really sharp 90-degree left-hander at turn 5. But that's also going to be one place, too, that we're going to be watching out for having to watch for a lot of trouble at that particular portion of the track, because you do slow down so much there. The next best passing opportunity is going to be turn 8. That's going to be another sharp left-hander after coming off a pretty long straight. Probably it is probably the 3rd fastest point on the racetrack, 3rd or 4th fastest point on this racetrack, right before you go around the carousel there. And then the next and probably last best opportunity to pass somebody is going to be down Canada Corner. Once you go past the kink, you're flying down to turn 12, otherwise known as Canada Corner. And anybody that's a race fan also knows that it's a great place to pass, but it's a great place to find yourself into some trouble there too.
And speaking of trouble, well, Cy Andra has found it in the first round that he showed up, which was Mossport. He was a little bit cleaner and managed a podium at Sebring. You're a betting man, Bill. What are the chances that Andra might actually get to the top step? He seems to have had speed, although
judging by qualifying, he might not have it today.
Oh, I think the odds are good, if not today, soon. He's way too talented to have these issues continue. You know, we've seen this whatever series we cover, when we get a driver coming into a new series. For whatever reason, rarely do they step right in and start doing well. Sometimes it takes them a few races to get the feel for the series, to see actually what it takes to win here. And I think that's kind of what's going on right now. Even though Andrews sits third right now in qualifying, he's only 2/10 back. That should be close enough to Tinsley and Ulmer to give him a run for their money.
Now, as we watch Jeff Hooper work on his qualifying, this is last chance qualifying, by the way, which, if you're not familiar with the Autobahn series, they split their qualifying into 4 parts. The first 3 are one for each class, and the last one is for drivers who have various things that keep them from their qualifying in with their group. So it's mixed qualifying, just as a last chance, hence the name. But Hooper is driving the GT3 Ferrari in that GTD class, and one thing we've noticed so far this season, Adam, is those GT3 Ferraris just don't seem to have the pace.
Yeah, we're starting to hear a few complaints about that too, and you know, ultimately though, you know that the next update for iRacing will probably come out with some sort of balance of power type thing, and that's okay. But in the here and now, power is a concern for those guys. I mean, they're being outclassed by pretty much every car in the GT3 field right now, and kind of behind the 8 ball. Of course, you got to look at the top end for those cars. I mean, those Mercedes have been the top of the class there for a while. So I mean, we'll be looking for those. Those Audis are pretty quick here today too.
Of course, the GTLM class is something to keep in mind, and can't forget the middle child. And one thing that I am noticing about the points in that GTLM class is where Stephen McGarvey is, our champion of the GT1. But Bill, today, his qualifying showing maybe he's going to bounce back.
Yeah, it's a 14-race season. Still plenty of time. He sits well down. What do we say about, I think he's in 12th position right now. Plenty of time to get back in. Now, remember, while this is the defending champion, it was really, he was in the GT, what did they call it last time? GTEs?
GT1s.
The GT1s. They'll call them the GTLM. So they're not the same cars that he won it with last time. But nevertheless, yeah, look at the speed, though. But the other guy we got to keep an eye on is the Jeffrey Ooms. My goodness, he's also fast, too. A couple newcomers coming in there. Going to be very tough. Billy Smith sitting in third right now. Dave Hill also very impressive.
Ooms seems to have been the man to beat as he has entered this season, or the series last season, and has certainly made a splash. Billy Smith needed to recover from his Sebring results, which certainly weren't as good, although if I remember correctly, that wasn't totally his fault, as we sit and watch Dave Hill, who has qualified in 4th in that class as he waits for the rest of the qualifying to wrap up out there. This is a track that certainly, as we keep saying, puts on phenomenal racing. Lots of places to pass, which Adam went over. A few dangerous places. It's a bit of an old school course. The Kink, Adam, definitely one of those, where it's caught a number of drivers out, and I kind of wonder if that's going to be a big problem with traffic.
Well, especially when you look at the fact that, you know, with the HPDs out there, the prototypes, that those guys should be able to go ahead and take that completely flat out. You know, don't have to lift at all. The cars are going to be set up like that, and you're going to be flying through there. Now, if you come up on a lower class, say you're coming up on one of the GTD cars, and if you have to lift going through there in one of the HPDs, that actually can almost upset the car a little bit. It might even maybe from throwing it to a loose condition, maybe even to a tight condition through the kink, and that could spell disaster. And I can tell you, personal experience, that anything that happens in the kink as far as contact is probably not going to end too well. And you're going to hit something. You're going to hit something hard because the concrete not very far away on either side of you, right through there.
It does not give much at all in the way of runoff, that is for sure. Sherburne's still out there, still putting those laps in. I think he's the only one out on track putting laps in at the moment, trying to work himself farther up the order. He's 37th overall, but 13 within his class. And up at the top of them is Dennis Zavretic, who has certainly surprised me this round. I kind of made a little bit of a note about him, Bill, that I thought maybe he could challenge for a win. I didn't think it would be so early.
Yeah, he looks very fast in qualifying. And honestly, if you're within any close time in qualifying, I think the nature of Road America should lead to draft and almost pack racing if you're relatively close. Not a lot of technical section, corner after corner after corner after corner for a skilled driver to pull away. I think if you can remain relatively close, you should be able to hang into some serious pack racing. And then passing should be fairly easy, like Adam said, down into one. I'm a little worried, though, Joe, you talked about I think if we're going to see issues, it might be into Canada with traffic because the racing line kind of veers across the straightaway there on the track. We'll see how the communication is going to be very important.
We saw Sherburne lose it on his final qualifying lap. With the checkers out, that means that the grid is finalized. And there's Steve Jones, one of our HPDs who will be starting this race. We're looking at one of his competitors, Simonic, who we're still waiting on that maiden win. He's been there and thereabouts, has gotten plenty of podiums in the Autobahn series, just hasn't been able to find that top step yet. Mark Kudrowski as well, also one of the drivers who's going to be taking part in the fact he's going to start at the tail end of that HPD field. So, without anybody to really follow out there, why don't we go through our grid, your starting order up on the pole. A little bit of a surprise here. Robert Tinsey is going to start the race in P1. John Ulmer, usually known for liking these American tracks, was not able to get past him. And he's going to be 1/10 behind on that front row. So still a close fight, as Bill said, with the draft coming into play. Cy Andra as well, only one more 10th back, starting our second row in third. Daniel Gralty will be in fourth on the outside of row 2. Alex Simonic will be in the third row, starting in fifth, with Scott Corbin in sixth. David Sockrider will be behind them, starting in seventh, and the outside of row 4 was finished up with Mark Schindel. Let's see if he can do another one of his regular climbs where everybody else falls away around him. Armando Edwards will be starting ninth, and then the top 10 is rounded out by Chris Pence. Steve Jones will begin in 11th with Lionel Duprat in 12th, and the last of our 13 HPDs in the prototype class will be Mark Kudrowski. Bill?
Sitting on the pole, defending champion Stephen McGarvey. Jeffrey Ooms might have something to say about him getting his first win, as Ooms is just outside of McGarvey. Billy Smith and Dave Hill sit third and fourth. Carlos Villa and Leif Peterson behind them. Miguel Meyer in 20th overall. You can see that he sits there in, about 7th position there in class. Brandon Posma, Ryan Huff behind them. Patrick Fleming and Dale Green round out the class. Adam?
Yeah, and the GTD is starting on pole in that class. Denise Savetric, he's going to be starting on the inside there. Alongside him is going to be Bradley Haley, Scott McGarvey, Brian Bennett out there as well. He'll be starting in row 2. Dina Topic in row 3. Alongside him will be Sheldon Rosenbaum. Then Kevin Santana, Paul Lindsay making up the next row. Sheldon Yoloshin and Matt Owens will be starting next to each other here today. Jeff Hooper, and then Robert Sklenka, and then Christopher Sherburne, Tim McLeish, David Tejada, Sean Reese. That's your top 40 right there. Although Sean Reese did not put down a practice time or a qualifying time, we'll have to see if he actually takes the grid here today.
Of course, we can't forget the AM championships that are being contested. The biggest one, of course, being the GTD class, where most of the AM drivers have flocked to this season. That's being led by McLeish. He is well far back there. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to keep as much of a lead as he's had if he stays back there. Well, Lotion, of course, starting quite a few cars up. This is a great chance for him to make inroads on that 13-point lead that McLeish has on him so far. Bill, the usual question. You're going to have a little bit easier time than Adam has since you've been following this one a little closer this season. Who's your picks?
Well, I got inside information. Right now, Robert Tinsey, apparently him and his neighbor are having an argument over about Tinsey's pepper tree, that the branches are sneaking over into the neighbor's yard. So currently, the neighbor is out there right now pruning that tree, which happens to have Tinsey's internet cable running right through it. So I'm not a big fan of the illumination of moonlight. So I think look for Tinsey to have some internet issues. Look for Cy Andra to steal the win that way. Let's go to the GTLM class. This one, I got to go chalk here. It's good to see defending champion Steve McGarvey up in front. Look for him to go wire to wire there. Adam, I know you're new to it, but who do you like down there in your group?
Well, these guys, yeah, thankfully I've been able to watch a lot of these guys, either previous seasons Autobahn or even another series. You can't argue with the likes of McGreevy out there. Excuse me, Bradley Haley. I don't know where I went McGreevy there, but Bradley Haley, he's always been fast. Everything I've ever seen him, he's been fast. And then just because I'm such a big majors guy, I gotta like Brian Bennett too. Brian Bennett, good guy. And I know for a fact that he likes Road America, so be looking for him to maybe try to do something here today.
Yeah, between Haley and I think Scott McGarvey down in that class, as you're looking at, your brain went there. And Bennett, though, less than a tenth between second and fourth in that GTD class in qualifying times. You talk about a hard fight. They got to be careful, though, because that'll be a great chance for Savretic to try and run away from them. But he is up late at night over in Central Eastern Europe. So we'll see how he can do burning the midnight oil out there in Europe.
And I was going to say, I think a lot of the Denis Savretic, what he has going for him is his Tron-looking Mercedes. And just throwing that out there.
Now they're working their way down to one of the first passing zones on the track after that first corner down into turn 5. So many cars have had trouble in early laps as cars pile together. They accordion together under braking, and it can get very crowded in a hurry with nowhere to go with walls on both sides. So we'll see how drivers handle that here in the first few laps, and they come up the hill, up and under the Corvette bridge. And then around tricky turn 6, where it's so hard to get that car to grip, and finally into those hurry downs as we watch the GTDs come down to turn 5.
Weather, late afternoon here today. Mostly cloudy skies here, 76 degrees. Trap temperature only 79 Fahrenheit. Should be a lot of grip as the shadows grow long and thin under the setting sun.
Now, there is an incident limit in this league. They can have 24 incidents before they are disqualified from the race. If you're not sure what those are, well, iRacing counts anytime you have an off-track, a spin, contact with the wall, another car, as an incident, as those rack up, just to try and keep drivers safe. A lot of series create an incident limit, and also to kind of keep drivers in check, since safety rating isn't counted here in private leagues. And make sure that nobody is using too many off-tracks to try and gain a little speed out there. Not too many places that you can do that here at Road America, other than turn 5, where you can swing a little wide. So drivers will have to worry about how many times they try and go too far to the right coming down into that corner. This is a place where you really don't have much room to get those incidents racked up, heading through the kettle bottoms.
Joe, I'm not complaining because nobody loves to fill more than me. Well, maybe Adam does. But do we know why Road America gives us a full pace lap around here?
iRacing, for some reason, hasn't updated some of the old tracks to do the half pace lap like they've done with some of the newer tracks. And I think Road America has been around quite a while on iRacing, so that's all I can figure, that they haven't done it yet. But I'm with you. They need to start it in the kettle bottoms or something. My goodness.
Maybe one day we'll put that on the iRacing wish list there for you, Joe.
One of many things I'm sure they have on their wish list. So as the roof pace car comes up to the front stretch, looks to that pit lane and peels off, Tinsley has control of the field, waiting for the green to be waved. He accelerates away, and look at the jump that he got on Cy Andra behind them. That's going to be in third, already looking to go to Daniel Gralty, who is well clear of the New Englander. And immediately, Cy tries to cut off Simonic to make sure that he doesn't try and sneak inside of him. Gralty taking a look at Ulmer on that first corner, but Ulmer losing contact with Tinsley. Let's go back to GTLM.
They wait until they get to the Coca-Cola sign before they can go, and Stephen McGarty finally gets there, puts the skinny pedal down, and he's out in front. He gets a nice lead over Ohms. Billy Smith tucks back into third position. Dave Hill and Veal round out the top 5. A little bit of a challenge coming up behind there from a driver looking to go. A great run there from V as he moves up a spot. Adam?
Yeah, Symmetric just got on the loud pedal. He is away, and he is going to be able to get enough of a lead to take sole possession of first place going down into turn 1, I'm pretty sure. But Bradley Haley is back there. He's got the draft, but he's not going to be able to do anything with it. He's going to settle into second. Behind him, Scott McGarvey, and then Brian Bennett. Right now, your top 4, Mercedes, Audi.
Not too many Audis in the oldie.
Let's go to the GTLMs, so they are side by side. Ooms was making a run at it, wasn't going to be able to do it. Had to duck back in. I thought they were going to make contact. Ooms was trying to work it around 5 on McGarvey. They settle down.
We watch them work their way into the hurry downs. McGarvey still leading the way. They can't battle too much because Billy Smith probably hungry to get himself a second win this season. See if he can try and get another crown to his name here in the GTLMs. It's been a long time since he's finished a season at the top of the points.
Racing a little tighter in the GTLMs than it is up in front with the prototypes. They've stretched out nicely, about 5 car lengths between everybody.
A lot of the GTDs right now is pretty much nose to tail, nobody making any moves. But up at the top right now, Denise Symmetric doing his best to try to run away from it. He actually probably has the widest gap out of anybody going back to the field. And then Bradley Haley, and they back behind him, though, getting a little bit more nose to tail, but they are starting to get to the point where they're stretching out a bit more down the straights.
We're going to check out a replay on Ooms. I'm assuming this is the attempted pass for the lead. Oh, actually, no, that was McGarvey went way wide, and Ooms did take the lead away from him coming out of Canada corner. And look at these 3, once we come back live, as we do now, have stretched away from Hill and 4th, and are all very incredibly close together for this P1.
We stay on this class for a little bit longer. If we drop back to 5th position right now, it's Carlos Villa. He was up ahead of Hill. He jumped Hill on the start. Boy, then he almost made a run. He was making a move on the back of Billy Smith, almost got into the back of Smith, lost momentum, and now lost the position. Now here he comes back on Hill. Keep an eye on V. He's got 56 more minutes of racing to go, and he is quick.
Down the outside on the Moraine sweep. Can he outbreak him into the corner? Hill tries to get down to the apex, and he is going to get it first. That's going to leave Villa out to dry and under threat from Peterson, who thinks about 3 wide, then backs out of it. They're still side by side into turn 6 as everybody has to check up behind them. No contact made, but boy, Villa is all over that gearbox.
Really been aggressive early on.
Ooh, our first little bit of a problem there coming out of turn 5. One of the trouble spots, Brian Bennett loses the back end. He's going to lose the spot to Dino Topich back here in the GTDs. So move Dino Topich up into 4th place in those GTDs, and also saw Sheldon Yoshin get a little loose right back there, actually right behind where Brian Bennett did. So turn 5 starting to get some of these GTD cars caught out a little bit.
In fact, Rosenbaum is already on the back of Bennett. He seems to be lacking pace at the start. Topich, one of the other drivers, the only of 2 Audis out there. Topich, of course, used to drive the Ferrari, unhappy with its pace, has now switched over, and I believe he is going to swallow the points penalty that he takes with that. Watching Sheldon Rosenbaum behind Topich, trying to chase down Bennett. That is a battle for 5th position within the GTD class. Let's take a peek at our prototypes because we haven't looked at them in a while. And a very un-Ulmer-like race here at Road America. He's known for loving the American tracks, but today Tinsey seems to have found something that Ulmer has not.
Yeah, the top cars all race in the same order that they qualified in. Look at Andrew now, though. Or, sorry, let's go back to Schindel. This is the guy I wanted to talk about. He's the only driver who's made a pass in this yet, and he is right now all over Scott Corbin. And I think he's going to get it done. Here he comes again. He's already up 1 position. Schindel going to look down in there as they go into Canada. Oh, pressures him off.
Corbin trying to break way too deep into the corner, has to wait patiently for the field to come by, and that slots him all the way into dead last of the prototypes. But how about Schindel? Maybe not the best of qualifiers, but his racecraft this season has proved to be phenomenal.
Up 2 spots, now into 6th. The only prototype driver to actually pass somebody on the track. Good job.
Surprising with the amount of great passing zones. This isn't a track really known for giving the prototypes a hard time with the aero wash.
No, I think they're early on, although I do think Andra might have something for Ulmer. He's been looking at him. He's just being patient right now. I think the experience that Andra has had is weighing in the back of his mind right now. He'd like to get some laps in before he starts to battle.
I wouldn't doubt that. Quick learner, Cy Andra, so far in this series, and his second race managing to get onto the podium. Let's see what he can do here, sitting on that final step once again so far. As Andra has a big off coming through into the hurry downs, but we should also note Tinsey got on the radio, said that he had a big screen freeze.
That's due to the neighbor. I think that's clipping of the branches. Let's go to 17th overall. Here comes the guy on the move. This is Villa making a move, and he gets another spot on Dave Hill. I told you about the neighbor next door pruning the tree in the nighttime.
There we see Villa. That was into turn 1 that he got that one taken. And actually, I think we're going to go to the replay. Must have gotten himself a nice draft. And there you see the results of it. Just sticks it on the apex, swings on through. Easy peasy.
It's got about 4 seconds to get up to Billy Smith, who's running in 3rd right now, but he is quick.
Yeah, those problems that McGarvey had at the start certainly have not helped him, because Ooms is stretched away and Smith still threatening Stephen McGarvey for P2 and GTLM.
Coming back to the GTDs, battle mid-pack right now in the GTDs with Bennett, Santana, Lindsay. They've been going at it here the last couple laps, and it keeps trying to get a little bit tighter. That's pretty much the battle in the class right now. But it actually going back a little bit more, Christopher Sherman trying to do something here with Robert Sklinka toward the back of the pack. Now, this is important here because Robert Tinsey, your leader in the prototypes, getting ready to catch these guys here in the next couple of laps. So if these guys are still battling back here, that's obviously going to make it a little bit tougher for him, especially if he starts to catch them in places like the kink. We obviously know what kind of trouble that could be trying to pass multi-class traffic.
Which he's going to do in just a moment, because Sean Reese and David Tejada, we saw them side by side through turn 7, made contact, somehow got away with it, and here comes Tinsey as we ride on board. He's going to side through. 2 cars taken before the kink. Nice timing for him.
Whoa! Boy, that had to scare Ulmer. That was Ulmer in the prototype going through, and there goes Andra. The car that got off was Tejada.
And somehow, Ulmer has caught up to Tinsey in that. Now we've got a car off track. Who is that?
Yeah, that was Sheldon Lotion is off track. He got off into the grass going through the kink, put it into the Armco, came back across the track, and I think he was able to keep it out of the concrete. No, he wasn't. He actually hit the concrete, but was able to, for the most part, to keep it off track and out of traffic. But Sheldon Lotion's got himself a pretty damaged Mercedes now.
I think we got a pass for the prototype lead. This is Ulmer making a move on the outside. They are side by side. Tinsey got held up. He needed to sharpen his scalpel there because it was hard cutting through the traffic. Ulmer not able to get it done, although he hasn't given up yet. He's got a good run.
Oh, almost went 3 wide, but that traffic prevented a late move from Tinsey as they got by Jeff Hooper down to turn 3. Here he comes again. He's going to get another try at Ulmer right on the gearbox of Robert Tinsey. He's going to make him go the long way around through turn 5. Who is the latest of the late breakers into this left-hander? Tinsey finding a little bit of ground. And Cy Andra is there to try to pick up the pieces. Doesn't get a good exit.
Got loose.
Oh, look at this, still side by side into turn 6. Now he loses grip off the racing line. Tinsey finally able to fend off the big cheese.
Andra actually backed out a little bit so he could get a good run through 6. Thought he was going to make a shot down into 7. Now they head down to the carousel. And this has also brought in, Ralti is back there now in the hunt as well.
So
as is Simonik.
You can throw your top five, your top five prototypes all under a blanket right now as they're catching. That's Matt Owens there in his Mercedes.
2 are going to get him, and Cy Andre has to wait until after the kink, and that's going to put him under threat because here comes the car of Daniel Gralti. Oh, and he gets cut off. And as he has to slow up now, Simonic is now on the back.
You can see what a difference it's going to make as far as splitting those guys up, how they caught Matt Owens there in the kink and almost broke up that battle. I think they're still in touch, but you can kind of see the impact that'll have once it happens, especially later in the race.
Bill, we're kind of in a bit of a bizarro world where John Ulmer's not strong on an American track and Tinsey is having trouble with traffic.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Very, very a dichotomy to what we're used to seeing.
Paul Lindsay is up next. He's going to be passed by Tinsey easily before turn 1. The rest of the prototypes have to wait patiently. And this is giving Tinsey the gap that he's been wanting finally. Oh, almost contact back there between Lindsay and Gralti. They came out of that safe.
Not missing anything in the GTLMs they're racing at station. This is where the action is right now.
Oh, and Gralti.
Ooh, Ulmer gains a lot of ground.
Contact.
Oh, who's that around?
That's Simonic, who got bumped in the back by Daniel Gralti. So Gralti gave up this position. You'll see him lift and come out of the way, but then braked way too late into the corner. Just the lightest of touches sent him around.
That was Kevin Santana they were trying to get around.
You got to remember these prototypes are so downforce driven that when those low speed corners, when there's not a lot of air moving over the wings, they're so light and there'll be the slightest contact that'll do that to them.
Well, that fight in the GTEs that they were getting by was Bennett and Santana, as was mentioned. Santana, despite the scare, has not gone off the rear wing of Bennett. And they come through the kink. They've got more prototypes swinging through.
Robert Tinsey now clears your GTD leader in Denise Savetric, so he is now clear of the GTDs.
And apologies, as I was talking about that battle, we were still on Cy Andre, who hasn't given up on Ulmer. Ulmer now 2 seconds back from Robert Tinsey.
See Cy using that draft to Denise Savetric as long as he reasonably could there.
It's a Yankee versus a Texan, as he uses the slipstream to close in, but doesn't make an attack down into turn 1. Cy Andre, the Blackadder driver, going to wait patiently for now.
Ironically, that's how I feel every time I step into a GSRC booth, with the exception of when Sean's around.
All this talk about the prototypes, it looks like Andre is not able to do anything right now, so why don't we go back to the GTLMs, just a quick update on them. Ooms stretching away from McGarvey, still at 2.5 seconds. However, McGarvey's found his pace once again, the legs under him. He's got Billy Smith 2.5 seconds behind him as well.
And then Via, once Carlos was able to get around Dave Hill, he's not been able to close the gap at all, as those guys run 4th and 5th in class, Via and Hill.
In fact, it looks like that's the closest fight right now in the GTLMs for that 4th position. Curious if that's the highest we're going to see Via get by pace. But there's a lot of racing left to go in this 60-minute race, and we're only 15 minutes in.
Nice size field here, Joe. We didn't really talk about it. 14 prototypes, 11 GTLM cars, and then Adam's got a plethora of guys down there in his group.
40 cars total have shown up today between the 3 classes. That is a very healthy set of cars out here today.
Well, not only that, a good number of cars, but spread out nicely amongst the different classes too. You don't have one class that's particularly extremely heavy. I mean, yeah, we got a lot of GTDs, but you've got enough to make the GTLMs and the prototypes pretty interesting. Oh, big contact in the back between Paul Lindsay and Brian Bennett. Brian Bennett's in the concrete hard. That all happens right in front of Scott Corbin and Steve Jones. That Brian Bennett is now missing most of the front end on that Audi after that concrete.
Corbin almost had to park the car as cars kept swerving in front of him.
Yeah, good piece of driving by him.
We're going to watch on board. Through Canada Corner they go, and you can see he's trying to come back on track, and there was just no space at the end. Bennett is now coming to pit lane. Way too early, I would say, for a scheduled stop for Bennett, so this is going to set him severely back. Lindsay follows him in.
Yeah, that's one of those ones too. Just to comment on that piece of driving there. You think about these cool moves that people make coming up on accidents where they're swerving left, swerving right, never really lifting off the gas. Breaking that hard in a prototype and getting that thing to actually stop the way he did, that was a tremendous piece of driving right there to avoid that and not hit anybody or anything. So good on him.
Joe, with a 60-minute race and about 43 to go, those GTD cars run long. That might be at the front of the window.
It's cutting it awful tight. I'm not sure if they've got 45 minutes worth. Meanwhile, we've jumped up to our overall leader. Tinsey has lost a bit of his gap. It was at 2.5 seconds. Well, Ulmer's cut it down to 1.3, and he is pushing hard as we saw him exit on the final corner, chasing him up the hill. Those three have got a little bit of breathing space, but certainly no respite, as all of them seem to be trying to get the maximum out of this car at all moments.
Back real quick in the GTDs, Chris Pence and Lionel DePratt just got around Denise Vetrick, and it really slowed him up in the process. And now Bradley Haley's caught up to his draft. Now, Bradley's not quite there yet, but it's going to be something to watch out for here the next couple laps and see if he's able to do something now with him being in the draft.
Haley has only had one major mistake that we've really caught so far this season. He's got 2 wins and a second place, and he could have easily won that second race at Mosport as well. Right now, with him following so closely to Cervetic, I think he's going to want to add his third to the season and try to take this crown. Remember, he was beat out last time by Lauro Costa. I'm sure he doesn't want that to happen again.
Those were the prototypes of Scott Corbin and Mark Kudrowski that you saw there navigating their way around your 2 GTD leaders. Bradley Haley, though, he's starting to see that car come alive a little bit, too. Denise's last lap, though, with that trouble was a 2:06, and Bradley's was a 2:04, so that'll give you an idea right there of on the opposite end of what getting caught up by the faster traffic will do. And, of course, now Bradley Haley going to get passed by his teammate, Steve Jones, in the prototype here in just a moment.
If we could get a replay of Voloshin about 30 seconds ago, he had a hell of a scare with Tinsey coming through. Now that prototype is coming up, but he also had a GTLM behind him in the form of Ryan Huff. There you can see him there. But watch this. Sticks his nose in. Voloshin has no choice. Off he goes. And somehow doesn't hit anything.
That's a bullet dodged not only by Voloshin, but also by Ulmer, who was right behind. Now, these guys are coming up right now. Tinsey's just working on some of the GTLM drivers, going through Bennett. Well, that's a GTD, but coming up on the back of Billy Smith.
Indeed, these are our GTLM leaders, in fact. Smith's still running in third. He's going to let him through at turn 5. Ulmer has to wait after him. And Sai's having to go offline behind them. We didn't see since we're riding on board with Ulmer. That's costing him quite a bit of time. Oh, Ulmer tries to go around the outside into turn 7, which is marginal for those GTLMs, and that costs Billy Smith dearly.
Well, just a moment ago, going back about a half lap, our leader at GTDs had a little bit of a scare. Denise Savetric, as he was getting ready to go through the kink, Steve Jones made the pass, lost it, and put his prototype into the concrete right in front of your GTD leader.
We're seeing if we could find this replay. Looks like we may have found it. There they are, coming out of the carousel, up towards the kink. To the inside he goes, and that's where it all goes south. Oh, yeah, those were a couple hard hits there.
Yeah, amazingly, it seems like he mostly dinged up the bodywork. The car still seems to be driving straight, but that's I think Steve Jones did manage to hit every single corner, and not to mention give Denise a little bit of a heart attack seeing a spinning prototype right in front of him.
That sets him well back of the rest of the pack. He's now got 20 seconds just to get to 12th in the form of Mark Kudrowski. Now remember, Scott Corbin had that mistake very early in the race into Canada Corner. Well, he's worked up to 11th. He's got another 5 seconds up to Chris Pence. Corbin having qualified in 6th. I'm sure he's going to want to make up more positions before this race is over. In fact, Pence seems to be a nice fight with the Mama Jean driver of Lionel Duprat.
Yeah, both Texas guys right there. So both really good Texas guys. So usually driving hard against each other. Always like the competition amongst the clubs right there. But Lionel Duprat, guy that good friends too with just about everybody in Texas. Really, I mean, I'm kind of running out of the words to say. Texas. You can tell where my mind is.
Oh, and he's got a good race going for himself. Lionel, kind of known as a bit of a backmarker in this series, but we should give credit where it lies. And he started 12th. He's in 9th right now. Oh, but this might go away.
Taking a little bit of advantage of some of the attrition there, but he's also driving himself a pretty clean race.
Almost lost it to Pence with the traffic of McLeish having to duck out of the way. Thankfully, there was really no opportunity to try to make it 3 wide for Chris Pence. Up next is Voloshin, who we saw out and off in this upcoming corner before. He's going to be able to stay out of their way. But once again, he's going to be a little bit wide. And the second time this race, he goes off at the kink.
And he keeps it without hitting anything.
How many lives is Voloshin going to have? The important thing for him, he is still ahead of McLeish, which means he is going to gain points in that AM championship.
Yeah, that Mercedes of Voloshin just doesn't seem to be as hooked up as I think he'd like it. As now you're going to be looking at the prototype there, Scott Corbin going on around him, but even then, he's at least has himself a little bit of a mulligan, I think, in his hat right now.
I think he just wants the track for once, the way it's been going this race for him. I'm kind of amazed we caught both incidents there of him going off, and amazed that he's still going. 32nd overall to Belval. Excuse me, sorry.
Jeff Hooper, maybe? Is that where we're going? Jeff Hooper and Christopher Scherber.
Yeah, nice little battle going on here for position. Hooper at the lead of these 3. It's Ferrari, Mercedes. As they come up to the front stretch, all just getting off about even. Now, we do expect pit stops to start happening soon. Go ahead, Bill.
I think we stay on this battle a little bit because it's going to get real interesting here in just a few seconds, as on the same straight as Robert Tinsey.
Yeah, he's closing up on Sklenka, who is behind those 3. He's going to have one car, no change of position coming out of turn 1. A little bit of trouble for Sherburne there, it appears. Now Tinsey's caught them.
This is good news for Ulmer here, who's back behind him. He'd like to see Tinsey held up a little bit. Oh, he's going to get him in a good spot. He's going to go outside of one, inside of the other. That's why he's bobbed the blade. Inside the other one, and boing, boing, boing.
We talked about McLeish earlier. McLeish is around in Canada Corner.
Oh, bad news for our AM championship leader. Did he hit anything?
His car's still straight. He just, I think, just overdrove the braking point and put it off in the gravel there. And
when we come back to that, let's go to Jeff Hooper when we get back. It was part of this battle right in front of Ulmer. Watch, we'll stay on this right now. Remember those cars we were watching? That's Hooper in front. That's Ulmer trying to go around. He spins it right in front of the big cheese.
I'd say that was driver error. Hooper maybe put a little bit off by The prototype trying to come in. Just can't keep the rear of that car planted, though. Nice avoidance maneuver by the Big Cheese. Well, while the mozzarella stays on the pizza in the land of cheese, he still has not taken away P1 from Robert Tinsley.
Never thought about that, Joe. Well, this should be Omer's track for sure.
He's keeping him honest. He's not dropped off significantly, only about a second and a half back from Bob the Blade. You know,
Actually,
question? Go ahead.
The top 4 guys, actually, we haven't paid a lot of attention to Daniel Geralti. He's only 4 seconds back of the lead. He has those guys in sight as well.
Geralti has been the surprise of the season for me. It just has shown pace. He's kind of taken the place of Simonik, who is actually not far behind him, in that he's grabbing podiums. He's up there, just doesn't have the pace for these top guys. A question we might have to ask Bob after the race that I've always kind of wondered is the significance of his number, 311. Not sure if he's a fan of the band or what.
Oh, that's a band name I hadn't heard in a while.
I guess it's because I'm a teenager in the 90s that I even remember them. Oh, and Patrick Fleming. He is off the course in the final corner. This looks like another case of driver error. He was trying to chase down Dale Green. Tried to keep it pointed forward, but that Ford, unfortunately, has very hot wheels underneath it now as he does a full donut.
Well, I know we haven't talked much about the GTLMs, but honestly, Joe, there's not a lot going on there. They're just not a real battle to be found anywhere through that class.
Yeah, the closest fight currently between Postma and Meyer in that class, and they're still about a second apart. Oh, sounds like we've just had some of our first scheduled stops in the prototype. It's Kudrowski.
But how about the leaders, too? Am I seeing Tinsley and Ulmer both in?
Ooh, significant developments, and Cy Andra stays out.
Yeah, not sure what happened. We missed it, but that car they're getting around, that's Brian Bennett, who's found himself in trouble for the second time this race.
After the speed that we know that Brian Bennett has from our coverage in the Pack Majors, it's a little bit sad to see him having so much trouble. So we're seeing if we could figure out what happened to him. In the meantime, looks like we might have found it. I'll send Adam on to check that out. But in the meantime, Tinsley is now back out after his pit stop. And Ulmer as well.
I don't always want to go to page 17 of the GSRC Commentator's Handbook about idling drama, but those pit stops were done with 31 minutes of racing left. That's not halfway.
Huff comes in. Via comes in as well. They've been battling on track. This is a bit of a thirsty track, but I don't remember seeing any talk about fuel being a concern. I'd be very surprised if that was the case. And Tinsley is starting to wonder if he has damage. He got very loose coming off of turn 5, and he's actually got onto the radio asking the car behind if they can see damage on his car.
Yeah, it looks fine to me.
Now, one lap later from the two leaders, Cy Andra comes in for his pit stop. He's followed by Daniel Geralti. Simonik is coming in as well. If we see everyone come in, there may be something to your thoughts here, Bill. Schindel is in. Oh, this may actually be tight because Sockrider's in too.
I don't see anybody going an extra lap like those guys could have come in early and got a little farther, so.
Something to watch out for. 29 minutes left to go. We're seeing more cars duck into the pits. This is going to hand the lead back over to Robert Tinsey.
I just sucked through my fuel a lot faster than normal was the words out of Robert Tinsey.
Ooh. The plot thickens. And there's a little bit of chatter between Ulmer and Tinsey. It seems like Tinsey maybe thought Ulmer got into the back of him at some point, but Ulmer's saying he never touched him.
Yeah, Tinsey not happy with his fuel mileage. I think that's where he was thinking of the damage that might have been costing the car to drink a little bit more.
And of course, at this point of the race, I mean, he's got to fill that thing completely full of fuel to make it the rest of the way.
Yeah, it is going to be very tight. Thankfully, he has enough of a race to try and do some fuel saving, and he does have a 2-second gap over Ulmer. But if he's saving fuel, then boy, that's going to be easy pickings for the big cheese to try and swing by him.
Of course, Ulmer was in on the same lap as well, so you know John could be in the same issue. The guy who seemed to be good is Cy Andre, who ran to the halfway mark.
The leader of the drivers that pitted on that lap. Andra 7 seconds behind Ulmer, though. He has fallen back significantly. And he has no threat from the next car back, which is Daniel Gralti. Dino Topic comes in the GTD class, gets his stop. That is still being led by Savretic so far. Although he hasn't been able to shake Bradley Haley. He's been keeping the pressure on.
Yeah, and in turn, not only is Bradley Haley keeping the pressure on, but Scott McGarvey is back there as well. So your top three has pretty much maintained the gap in the GTD classes here the last couple of laps. Really nobody gaining, nobody losing anything.
Let's go ahead and pick up Stephen McGarvey right now on track. He's made his stop. Jeffrey Ooms has come in. Remember, McGarvey was racing in 7 seconds, only a couple seconds behind him. Ooms making his stop now.
Ooms hits his pit stall.
McGarvey just getting into Canada.
Riding in the Ferrari. And McGarvey had to deal with a little bit of traffic. Corbin and Duprat, who were battling, wanted to get their way through. Now they've left him alone.
Yeah, Ooms is rolling in, and McGarvey has yet to even find the straight, although it is a long pit lane.
Incredibly long pit lane. One of the notes I even made, because I wondered if it could have an effect, especially if someone has to make an extra stop, which could be likely. There's McGarvey. Where is Ooms?
Ooms is out, I think. Yeah, Ooms is well on his way past, out, going into 3 right now, so comfortably about, my goodness, how about 8 seconds back to McGarvey.
And Smith is in and out as well. Now, he has Patrick Fleming behind him, but I believe Fleming has not stopped yet, or has he?
Nope, Fleming still needs to do one. All the big names have come in. Via, Huff, they've all come in for their stop. Drivers who've stayed out, Dave Hill, Peterson, and Patrick Fleming.
Not a lot of action in the GTLM still. As we covered a little bit earlier, pit stops don't seem to have shaken things up quite yet. Honestly, one of the closest battles on track right now is for 10th, and those prototypes, Duprat and Corbin, still not able to get away from one another. There we see Duprat heading towards the kink. He's got Jeffrey Ooms in front of him, in fact. He doesn't catch him. For that fast right-hander, Ooms is going to hold off to the left, let them through. Oh, and Duprat off course. Corbin trying to catch up to him. See if he can do anything with the mistake, but not yet. They come up to the final turn. A good exit could give him the opportunity, and Corbin throws it away by putting it off track. More progress was on the cards for poor Scott. Driver error has unfortunately put that to rest. Now, the battle for the lead in the GTDs is getting a little complicated. They have Brandon Postma on them. However, he is a GTLM car.
Yeah, and that speed difference.
Oh, and Tinsey just wrecked in the kink. And this was on his own. Nobody around.
And right in front of Ulmer, who decides to go to the left.
And once again, he's blaming it on damage from whatever contact he had somewhere. I wonder if maybe it's not from contact, but just hitting a curb wrong or something?
And you can actually hear Ulmer exclaim. He does, oh, as it happened as his Tinsey car didn't bounce up into him.
Let's watch it from the Big Cheese's view.
Not like Ulmer had a choice of which line he was going, and I think the car's going over here.
Ooh, he had just enough room on the edge of the track. Tinsey's got it going again. He's taken it into pit lane. He did say on the radio that he's done, but he could still get back into this thing.
While that happened, in fact, right as that happened, your GTD cars came down pit road, and Denise is now nose to tail with Bradley Haley there exiting pit road. It looks like Scott McGarvey didn't get as good of an entry onto pit road, so that's why he's back behind these guys by actually a pretty good margin. But now the battle for the GTD lead is going to be heating up, as now they also got David Sockrider trying to get around him here. In fact, Bradley Haley's going to try to take advantage of it. Takes a look at the inside of Denise Savetric, not able to do anything with it here quite yet.
Put offline by the car of Sockrider coming through. Savretic stays defensive down the Moraine sweep. Here comes Haley. The Comet is going to try and outbrake him on the outside of turn 5. Could there be an over-under instead? Not quite. Savretic with the perfect defense down into a corner that requires incredible precision. That's probably the best opportunity we've seen yet for Bradley Haley to try and take that lead away. He backs off and he's going to regroup.
Yeah, that's about all he can do here at this point, and that gap immediately goes back to about what it was right before the pit stops. But man, I tell you what, the big loser in those pit stops is Scott McGarvey, who has now found himself about 6 seconds behind these guys now. So big loser there. He's still in contention for the podium in class, but kind of taking himself out of contention for the win here.
An update for Tinsey fans. You can see he's come back out on track behind Scott McGarvey there, but he's running in 8th place. In fact, let's give you an update of where we stand now that pit stops are through. Starting with the prototypes, John Ulmer has inherited the lead after a mistake from Tinsey. He thinks from damage to his car, not handling how he likes. Cy Andra then gets promoted up into 2nd. Maybe going to step up 1 step on the podium here this race. Daniel Gralty is on the final step of the podium. We said he's been racking them up. He could get another. Alex Simonik is going to be in 4th after that, the number 250. About 7 seconds behind 3rd place, so not threatening at all. And then Mark Schindel. We keep covering the way he just climbs through the field. Well, he's in a top 5. Let's go to the GTLMs.
Nicely spread out here. Jeffrey Ohms has about a 7-second lead over defending champion Stephen McGarvey. McGarvey about 4.5 seconds ahead of Billy Smith in 3rd. But then it gets interesting. Let's go back to 4th position. This is Carlos Villa. Now, this battle has been going on for the whole race. He's got about 1 second on Dave Hill, who races in 5th. Then I can be a little bit here. McGreevy, I'll go 1 more spot because Ryan Huff is still running these guys down. He's only about 2.5 seconds back in 6th overall in class. Adam?
Yeah, of course, Denise Savetric still winning the GTD class here, but the likes of Bradley Haley still hot on his heels and actually got a little bit of a boost as Robert Tinsey got around these guys here just a moment ago. So Bradley Haley back in the hunt underneath the rear wing of Denise Savetric. And going back there, back into 3rd position in class right now is Scott McGarvey. We mentioned that he lost a lot of ground on those pit stops, as now Lionel DePratt's going to be getting around him. And that's pretty much ended his chances at a race win, but he is keeping tight on getting a podium in class. In fourth position in class is Dino Topic. Dino, of course, we talked earlier about him switching to the Audi here for this race, and not exactly too happy with the pace that the Ferrari was showing. So there he is. And then Kevin Santana is currently running fifth in class. Very quiet day for Kevin Santana. We haven't talked much about him, but he's up 2 spots from the beginning of the race and just kind of out there turning laps and doing what he needs to do.
As we had that rundown, Scott Corbin had yet more problems. This time, though, I'm not sure this one was necessarily as much his fault. Although, actually, as I say that, we're going to see he does start the car turning here into turn 8. So maybe a bit of A and B, as he's just turned the rest of the way around by a poor Dino Topic, who had nowhere to go and just kind of has to plow through to try and continue his race in his Audi. But Corbin did get going again, much like Robert Tinsley, we mentioned, did get back out on track. We should mention, now that he's overtaken Armando Edwards, that's because he used his spare car, Bill.
Yeah, you get one fast repair. But you'd like to take it if you need that fast repair. You'd like to do it in your pit stop.
Oh, and we've had a pass for the lead in the GTDs, Adam.
Yeah, it looks like Haley finally was able to do something with it in traffic there just a moment ago. And move Bradley Haley up to that P1 spot.
Yeah, this started on the front stretch. Just found a good draft, a good run. However, he didn't finish it coming out of turn 1. It took all the way down into 3. You're going to see a little bit wide, but holds his momentum on the outside. Savretic fights back, but eventually has to give up the ghost. That was a long time coming for Haley's Comet.
Yeah, now Denise gets to have that feeling of sitting back there about a second behind the race lead, as Bradley Haley is just almost just seemed like Bradley was just kind of back there just waiting for his moment, found his moment, went after it. Now, like I said, move him into P1.
And this is, I have to say, a very on-point Bradley Haley this season. Has found the pace, has found the race strategy. He's trying to grab this opportunity with both hands. A lot of the field starting to spread out, unfortunately, robbing us of a few battles.
We do have another one starting to develop here in excuse me, actually, that's my bad. Never mind about that. I misread something there.
Via and Hill are getting close together in the GTLMs, though. This is a battle for 4th.
Yeah, just like Haley was following Saveric around the whole time, I think this is the same thing happened here with Hill. Has probably had enough of Villa.
Ooh.
And now he's going to get him.
That was a mistake from Via coming out of the final corner, just dipping his wheels off into the dirt. And that's all that Dave Hill needed to stream on by. But here comes our leader, John Ulmer. He could get into this mix. Closing in fast. Oh, he outbreaks one, but not the other, and that's exactly what Via did not want there.
Boy, that was gutsy of Ulmer. He had a lot of faith that Via was not going to pull out in front of him and try to make the pass on Hill.
And he has good reason. Look at the gap between Ulmer and Andra. It's still a second and a half. If Ulmer catches traffic at just the wrong point, Andra could be all over him.
Don't forget, it could be fuel, baby. Fuel, baby. Ulmer came in that one lap earlier than Andra. Andra may be able to have race full speed.
15 minutes. We'll find out what Ulmer has in the tank.
Literally. And figuratively.
And don't forget, I mean, you mentioned that Tennessee might not be out of it, but I mean, if the rest of those guys really are sucking fuel down very quickly, Tennessee, he grabbed a little bit when he had to take his fast repair a little while ago, so he's set to go. I mean, he's a ways back there, but nothing to pit stop on that long pit road, on that long front straightaway would fix.
That's assuming he's got the pace to be able to run them down. Right now, he's about 45 seconds back. That's something I wish I'd paid attention to when he came out of the pits, because if he is closing, then yes, indeed, he could jump them with that unexpected second stop. So, taking a look at the GTD class, I want to give a brief mention to Sheldon Woloshin, because remember, he's competing with McLeish for the AM Championship. Oh, and there's something going on with Sklenka?
Saying there was nothing he could do.
Oh, it's with Tinsley.
Oh, and Tinsley again!
That time it was Sklenka.
So found Sklenka again.
And Armando Edwards got a piece of that. It started back in the carousel and it finished in the kink.
This
Now,
one, I gotta hold judgment on this one.
Yeah, I think I see what you're seeing, but I cannot imagine Tinsley swung across him intentionally. There's no way I could see Tinsley doing that.
I would agree.
But regardless, the results are that Tinsley now really is out of this race.
Okay, and don't forget too, other championship implications there. Right behind him, when Tinsley got around him, Tim McLeish ran wide, going there through the kink, slapped the concrete. Tim McLeish is out of this race as well now.
Yep, and that's just what I was about to try and touch on, because he was fighting with Woloshin, so Woloshin now is going to take a healthy chunk out of that AM Championship.
Just after that incident, Duprat, for no reason at all, actually made a mistake, almost got into the back of McLeish as well as a mistake. Duprat is now out of it.
I kind of want to clarify on Tinsley, since because I think I could tell it happened. Yeah, it's just the natural line is to try to shorten that straightaway in the kettle bottoms because it weaves back and forth. I just would guess that he did not know he wasn't clear.
I couldn't agree more.
Well, this hands this thing to John Ulmer practically on a silver platter. The question is whether or not Syandra can steal the plate away at the last second. They've got 7 seconds back to Gralty. They don't have to worry about him at all at the moment.
That line, that's one of the spots we talked about, Joe, about the nature of Road America, how the racing line weaves you across in places that makes interclass traffic difficult.
Absolutely. And, well, I don't know if it's irony or not. We'll have to consult Alanis Morissette, but it was Tinsley who first started to bring it up on the forums before the race about guys watching out for the way the track goes back and forth in some places.
Well, that's an easier pill to swallow when you've already put it in the wall once and you're racing down there in 9th position and you're used to winning. So they got drop races, man.
I do not foresee a very happy Tinsley after this race, though. Oh, and Bradley Haley.
Something happened with Haley right there.
Wow, what a view as we rode on board.
Loose, it looked like.
That was Sofretic, and he even comes on the radio and says, I did not know what was happening. And Haley's already coming back at him. We're watching the replay real quick here.
Yeah, it looked like he just grabbed that curb just wrong, and it threw him sideways and cost him that amount of time. They're getting close going into one here. Svedrick is going to run a little bit wide. He's going to get a little bit loose, but they're still going side by side. Well, a little bit of contact. Bradley Haley's around into the wall.
Haley able to get the car going, but let's watch the replay. And this was set up perfectly for Bradley. Despite having the problem, he just got himself the perfect exit off the final corner. Use the slipstream. You're going to see him come up to the inside, down into turn 1. And that's not when the problem happened, though, as they stayed side by side. Here they are coming out of the first corner. Now, the track kind of kinks a little bit to the right down into turn 3 here, Adam.
Yeah, it does just a bit, and I think that Bradley Haley, I think he maybe thought he was clear, but he wasn't, just by a matter of an inch or two. And that was all the contact that was needed to send him around spinning into that concrete. I mean, you see here, he tries to move over, trying to get set up to take that turn 3, and that's pretty much going to end Bradley Haley's day. Bradley tried to bring the car back around, but just too damaged, spun it, and decided towing was the better option.
Oof. It is not the results that Haley is going to want today. So Vredick is now well clear as he almost suffered no ill effects of that incident, and McGarvey is a whole 5 seconds back from him with only 10 minutes to go. So Vredick just has to cruise to the finish line from here on out.
That could have been avoided if iRacing would put turn indicators on these cars. Haley could have been clicking over and he would have known he's coming over. Severick could have lifted on him.
Well, my thought is, I think after the second time we've seen that happen this race, there's going to be a few iRacing spotters who are going to be fired after this one.
Yeah.
Definitely seems like it, doesn't it?
How about Dino Topic? I did not expect him to be racing for a podium. Now, granted, he's 14 seconds back from McGarvey, but when did he get this high up?
He's been sitting there in 4th and 5th pretty much all race long, and now with Haley falling out, that moves him right there up into that podium spot. A very consistent day in that Audi, he's had a moment or two of drama, but not as much as it seems like everybody else has here in the last few minutes.
We can check back in on our prototype battle for the lead. 1 second separates them now. Andra just came through traffic as well through turn 6 and somehow didn't lose much time on Ulmer. Andra is starting to put the pressure on. 7 minutes to go, but once again, all it takes is a mistake here or there, and Andra is going to be all over top of the number 902.
This will be telling because Ulmer's got clear track ahead of him for quite a while. He's not going to find anybody to slow him down until he gets to Fleming, who's well out of the way. So right now, this will really be pace against pace.
Also got a battle for 5th. Schindel has lost that earlier, and they are in a mess of traffic. He's trying to take it away from David Sockrider, who gets blocked as he has to check up big time with Sheldon Rosenbaum taking the inside line through the carousel. No opportunity left for Schindel in that one. Now they go by the car of Dave Hill. And up ahead of them, Dino Topic wasn't happy about something.
Yeah, what it was is Billy Smith took him, too wide through the kink there, and it ended up costing Dino Topic a lot of time. He's falling back into that group you're watching now.
Oh, Sockrider is hustling. Oh, and he gets to the back of Duprat. A perfect pick for Mark Schindel, who slides into 5th with ease. Watching onboard Sockrider, who was already all out of sorts coming up to here, and just wrong time, wrong place. Man, that was decisive from Mark. Oh, and poor Sockrider is pushing incredibly hard as he almost goes too wide coming through turn 1. Overdriving the number 44 just a little bit, and that's already losing him a 1.5 seconds on Schindel.
Schindel gets around the cars of David Tejeda and Billy Smith. Billy Smith now working on Tejeda. Oh, and almost making contact. That was Sockrider almost got into Tejeda.
Yeah, I definitely think if Sockrider's got a crew chief, he needs to get on the radio to him and just calm him down now. The adrenaline seems to be going for the Indiana driver. He hasn't lost the car yet, but how many times can he get lucky? Up at the front, now down to 0.8 seconds between Ulmer and Andra.
They did catch Fleming. They got around him without a problem. They're coming up on the back now of Christopher Sherburne. Oh, and Ulmer catches him at a bad spot.
Oh, back here is that Carlos Villa. Carlos Villa just slapped the wall. He got loose going through the kink.
Let's take a look at that, and then we'll have to jump back to that battle for the lead soon, I think. As he got a little bit of the grass on the outside, and unfortunately, it does not grip as much as the asphalt.
He's there now, boys. Andre is a car length back.
Ooh, misses the apex at turn 6, and that costs him about a 10th. They head into the hurry downs. Is Ulmer saving fuel still? A little bit of a note, we understand that Haley did come back out on track. Probably use that spare car to get himself back out there. However, definitely not going to get his 4th podium of the season today.
Now they have Dale Green in front of him. Ulmer makes short work of him. Green gets out of the way.
Well, Andre's closing, though. Andre is closing fast. Is he going to take a look into the final corner? He peeks, but he doesn't make a serious attempt. Ulmer slow off the corner.
Yeah.
Here's Andre. He's on the gearbox. He's looking for a way through. Waits patiently. I think he smells blood in the water. I think he knows that he's got this easily.
Got him.
I'm pretty certain that Ulmer is saving fuel. He is coming off these corners oh so slow, but now here comes, are we going to go 3 wide? That's Mark Kudrowski in there. They squeeze by to the inside. Cy Andre doesn't have it done quite yet. They got more traffic in the form of Matt Owens ahead of them. Off the corner, Cy Andre has it done, but here comes Ulmer back at him. With the traffic to the outside, he's covered off to the inside. Andre now has it.
Boy, you can feel Kudrowski exhale, trying to make the car skinnier, make room for them to go 2 wide around him.
In the background, we did catch that car spinning. That was Dale Green.
Now they go around Sean Reese. Oh, and Ulmer is way off the pace.
Oh, wow. Yeah, he is braking incredibly early, but Andre's braking late as he almost takes it off track. Cy Andre, only his 3rd race in the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sports Car Challenge. We are in round 4. He missed the first round. First race at Mosport proved a brutal lesson for the New Englander. Second race, he gathered himself together, still only managed to 3rd. This time around, strategy is on his side, and he is looking with 2 minutes to go at a win. In the meantime, it sounds like, Bill, we got a battle between Villa and Huff.
Yeah, that's been going on forever. Now Villa is on the outside. Oh, they touch. Villa keeps it going.
Huff gets him.
Makes the move, yeah. Now they come up behind the Mama Jean car there of Topich.
Oh, it looked like that it was going to be
around. Almost around through Canada.
Oh, no. And there's another car with him.
I can't see who that was. It was Matt Owens, but he left the track in an avoidance because it happened right in front of him. I could have sworn that I heard John Ulmer's car start to sputter right before that happened. But he's still going, and he's missing pit road, so maybe I was just hearing things, which is always a possibility.
Well, either way, that's not going to help his fuel mileage to have to restart the car up again. Gralty takes over 2nd.
It was looking like such an opportunity for John Ulmer, but we are now on the white flag. Andre with a single lap to go, 10 seconds over Gralty. A struggling John Ulmer falling down the order. Is this where we see a championship run start for Cy Andre?
Assuming he has the fuel. Remember, he was able to go to the halfway mark, but he could drive
Ulmer
easy.
is falling. Ulmer is falling fast. Simonic might even get him. Bill, what a fantastic catch halfway through the race. Who would have thought?
Because I listened to my mom. She would read me the story of the tortoise and the hare. Those 2 guys, those were Tinsey and Ulmer were the hare. Cy Andres, the tortoise.
It's been the story of this season so far, with an incredible number of drivers entering races. Traffic has been thick and fast, and that meant survival is all the more important. And Cy Andre is learning that probably quicker than anyone, while everybody else falls away around him. out of the final corner. Cy Andra, in only his third try, is going to take the win here at Road America.
Holmes is in the carousel right now. Let's see who's in the where the GTD driver is.
Yeah, I believe he's still ways back. Denise just went through turn 5. Or no, excuse me. He's entering the carousel himself.
Yeah, Ooms is the next one to take the checkered flag. This has certainly been Ooms' season. He's shown pace. He's another one that came in partway through last season. Looked like he could be a major player. The Canadian, the Mantra as they call him, has been calm and collected. He's got a 10-second lead over last season's GT1 champion. And Jeffrey Ooms out of the final corner. He climbs the hill now and wins the GTLM class here in Autobahn Motorcar Group Sports Car Challenge.
And then coming out around the last corner, you'll find Denise Fedrick. You know, in the notes it says, could he threaten for wins later this season? That was before the race. Who knew later in the season would happen an hour from now? He's coming across, your winner of the GTDs.
How about the battle in the GTDs between Santana and Topic? This is for the podium. Topic able to hold him off for now. The final quarter will tell the tale, though. And as Dino gets himself a good run, he's going to land himself a nice podium here today in Road America. And how about the McGarvey brothers, each taking second place in their respective classes?
They won't know who bites dinner.
All right, with that, we're going to go to break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll be back with the unofficial results, as well as driver interviews. And stick around, because on screen, we'll have all the upcoming races here on GSRC. Welcome back to Elkhart Lake. We just watched another stunning race from the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sportscar Challenge. Bit of a surprise winner today. He only qualified third, but he didn't need the top speed. He needed the fuel mileage. That was Cy Andra, who takes the win in only his third try in this series. I think he's going to be one to watch out for if he sticks around the AMGSE. Daniel Gralty continues to bring in the results himself. He gets a second place today as everybody else around him also falls to the wayside, and Simonic puts another notch on his belt with another podium. Mark Schindel, he just keeps racking up steady results with top fives. He gets himself a fourth today. David Sockrider behind him in fifth, who overtook John Ulmer. He ran out of fuel on the final lap. He coasted up the hill and sputtered across the line for only a 6 after it looked like he could take a win away from this one. Armando Edwards finished in 7th with Scott Corbin having multiple problems throughout the race. He's going to have to sort out the handling of his car. He finishes 8th. Mark Kudrowski a lap down in 9th. Chris Pence was behind him, rounding out the top 10. And then Lionel Duprat finishes 11th. Steve Jones in 12th. And you're not going to see Robert Tinsey on the prototypes because he DNF'd. Let's go to the GTLMs.
Okay, it was Stephen Garvey who's qualified on the pole and actually led early, but once Jeffrey Ooms got around him, it was all Ooms as he goes on to get the win. McGarvey had to settle for second. Billy Smith ran third the entire race. Dave Hill and Carlos Villa were in a battle for much of the race. Hill's going to get the best, and then Villa ran into trouble and had to surrender a top 5 position to Ryan Huff, as Villa had to settle for 6th. Leif Peterson and Brandon Postma come home 7th and 8th. Patrick Fleming and Dale Green round out that class. Adam?
Yeah, and take a look at the GTDs. Denise Vetrick being able to come home with a pretty dominating win for the most part. Bradley Haley was able to contend there for a while, actually led some laps. And when we saw how that ended, you'll see where Bradley finished here in just a moment. Scott McGarvey, though, able to come home in second. Dino Topic ending up on the podium after switching to the Audi here for this race. Kevin Santana coming home in fourth, and Sheldon Rosenbaum in fifth position. Sean Reese, who started a shotgun on the field, able to bring her home 28th overall today. Matt Owens and Christopher Sherburne out there in the GTDs as well. Both of them able to come home with actually finishing the race here, and then you'll have the likes of Bradley Haley, who unfortunately had the incident there with Denise and ended up finding the concrete after that. He finishes in 31st overall. Sheldon Lotion had himself a pretty eventful day. Jeff Hooper out there. David Tejada also had a pretty eventful day. And of course, there in the next order on the overall, we find Robert Tinsey. Of course, we all saw what happened with that. Robert Sklenka out there. Tim McLeish, championship leader going in, will not leave with the championship lead here today. Miguel Meyer in the GTLM. Brian Bennett saw his trouble. Paul Lindsay as well. And that will round out the rest of the field.
Up first, we have our overall winner, Cy Andra, here to talk to us about how his race went. And Cy, the first question I have for you is, were you saving on that first stint knowing that it was going to be tight?
Was I saving? When was I not saving is the question. I think I was clutching it on the pace lap. I was saving in the draft, lifting and coasting behind traffic, the whole 9 yards. I mean, the first stint was to make the entire point of that first stint was to make it to that extra lap past Tinsey and Ulmer so I could run to the end without any issues on fuel.
And when you saw that they pitted a lap before you, did you feel like you had the race in the bag then?
I felt like it. I genuinely did, because I knew, according to my calculations anyway, which are known to be a little iffy sometimes, I knew that they couldn't make it to the end on fuel without saving. But I could. So pretty much what was going to determine the race was how much time I lost while saving, and how much fuel they were going to lose by saving. And it turns out they lost a lot more than I did.
Now, you missed the first round, and you obviously had a bad first race at Mosport, but you've now got a third place and a first place in your pocket. It's your rookie season. Are you already thinking about a championship, or are you just going to do the race-by-race route?
Race by race. I mean, this result has been in my favor because both Ulmer and Tinsey didn't finish in the top 5, so the points gap is going to get smaller because of it. And I have one drop week, which I'm going to use for Daytona, obviously. But if I keep getting podiums and wins like this, I definitely think I could be a challenger for the championship on my first season.
Well, we revel in seeing another driver throw his hat in the ring between Ulmer and Tinsey. And again, congratulations on a well-earned win.
Thank you very much.
That was Cy Andra, who came home in first overall today and only his third try in the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sports Car Challenge. Up next, Jeffrey Ooms notches up another win in the GTLMs, and he is going to be talking to Bill Zahn.
Jeffrey, congratulations. Let's go right to the very first lap, where you made a try for the pass early. You were side by side with Stephen McGarvey there. Didn't quite work out for you. Aggressive early on, though.
Yeah, that was a really exciting race. I had a lot of fun there. I haven't done any races with Steven, and he's a really quick guy. I just gave it a good shot there. Didn't want to get real aggressive and cause contact or anything. Just wanted to see if I could sneak it in there, and he held on to it. But then I think I put a little bit of pressure on him, and he made a couple mistakes, and then I was able to get by him later in that lap.
Yeah, he made a mistake, and then it was easy. From then on, it was just a matter of keeping an eye in the rearview mirrors for the prototypes and getting around the slower GTDs. How was the traffic?
It was a bit challenging, actually. Right near the end, there was a little gaggle of cars there. There was some HPDs trying to pass two other classes there, and we were side by side for a little bit. So it was challenging for sure.
Next time we go to Circuit of the Americas. You like that? I don't like that track much to look at. How do you like to race on it?
I've never actually raced the Ferrari there, so it'll be my maiden voyage there as well. So I'm not sure what'll come of it, but if we can keep this pace going, we should be in pretty good shape, I would think.
Doing well as you pick up. What would that be? Your second win now, 2 for 2, coming off of Sebring. So good deal.
Yes.
We'll follow you the rest of the way.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Jeffrey Ooms, he sits third in the points. Look for him to move up.
Up next, we have our third place finisher in the GTDs. Adam's going to talk to Dino Topic with his podium after switching away from the Ferrari.
Yeah, Dino, of course, Joe basically took my first question right out of my mouth. You weren't too happy with the pace of the Ferrari. You switched to the Audi here for today. What was it like, the difference between the two for you in the driver's seat?
Oh, it was like two different classes almost.
I imagine it, and definitely was able to come away with a halfway decent result. For the most part, drama-free. You had a few moments, got caught up in some traffic as well at times, but for the most part, you're able to run a pretty quiet race and just click away the laps. Did you feel like with the Audi that it was just not only more power, but more consistent for your driving style as well?
Audi seemed to suit me. I knew I can work with it because I drove it a few seasons ago before the tire updates and stuff. But stuff they did with the Ferrari in the last update just changed it so much that I'm sure others can do it, but I don't have the talent to tame it, I guess. So I switched the car and I built the setup. I was pretty happy with it. Put a lot of race trim laps, I guess, into practice, and I was confident I can run various lines, and I just put the laps down. Seeing the qualify, I knew the guys ahead of me are definitely going to pull away. Brian Bennett, Brian and Neil Sheldon were definitely going to be around my pace, and then Kevin just came from the back, and Brian dropped off at some point. So it was interesting. Last 10 laps were definitely intense.
Now we go from Road America here this week to Circuit of the Americas next time out, and as far as this Dakota, what's your experience racing there? Are you looking forward to it? How well do you think you're going to do?
Well, my last experience, if I remember correctly, was a DQ, but I like the track. I never really had pace on it, but I think I'm going to approach it a little bit differently and see what I can learn better, I guess.
Well, appreciate you stopping by and talking, and Dino, good luck here in a couple weeks at COTA, and we'll hopefully talk to you then too.
Definitely, I'll see you then, and can't wait to watch the replay of this.
have plenty to watch, that's for sure, in the 60 minutes that happened out there on track. Dino, of course, third place finisher in the GTDs. Up next, we have fourth place in our prototype class. That's Mark Schindel, who has managed 3 top 5s out of 4 races so far this season. Mark, that's a pretty impressive feat with the talent that we've got in this prototype field this season. Are you happy with those results?
Yeah, definitely. Considering in the past, I've never been in that position.
Now, you don't seem to necessarily qualify very high up, but you certainly seem to be able to keep the car out of trouble and kind of grab spots as other drivers run into problems. Is that kind of the approach that you're taking, or is that just kind of a happy accident?
It's definitely a happy accident. I've been trying to learn how to qualify better. I just can't qualify to save my life.
Trust me, I'm in the same boat. I understand how you feel. Now, coming up next is Circuit of the Americas, and that track is incredibly technical compared to this one. Do you think you can repeat this feat, especially since there's a lot of paved runoff on the outside of that track?
Definitely. What's taught me a lot was racing the Neo League, so I get to race against really fast people, and that's actually made me quite a bit faster for this league. So should be able to repeat, I'm hoping.
Yeah, you've improved a lot since we started watching you here in the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sportscar Challenge. Congratulations on another top 5, and we hope to see you in 2 weeks from now.
Thanks a lot, and you guys have a great night.
That was Mark Schindel, 4th place finisher overall. We're going to wrap up today, and of course, we want to thank the Autobahn Motorcar Group for being the official sponsor of the AMGSE, and thanks to John Ulmer for all his hard work behind the scenes to bring this thing to air. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts. They're listed here on your screen. And additional thanks to Eric Ekholm and Casey Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. If you want to get a hold of more of their work, see the screen to find out how to get it. Thanks to the team today, Bill, Adam, Amjad, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including our upcoming races, you can find those at globalsimracingchannel.com. Or you can check out our social media. We're on Twitter at GSR Channel and Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel. The next race, we mentioned it a couple times, Circuit of the Americas, heading down to Texas. That'll be Monday, November 20th at 9:15 p.m. Eastern. It's been a while since this series has been at that track. It'll be interesting to see how they fare now with a lot more drivers. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.